I've been wanting to talk about the Contrapoints thing because I want to read her statement just to show how reasonable it is. Now, people were already starting to dogpile her because she hadn't made a video about the Israel-Palestine conflict. And they're like, oh, she must be pro-genocide because she hasn't said anything, which is pretty nuts just on its face. But she decided to respond, and I'm going to read it for you guys so you can see how fucking insane the response has been. So she said, I'm posting this to Reddit instead of Twitter, hopefully to minimize fragments being clipped out of context. Sincere apologies to the Muslims. That's smart. So many leftists feel betrayed because I haven't made a video on Palestine. Do they actually want a Contrapoints video about Palestine? Will they be happy if I get in the bath and pour milk on a mannequin of Benjamin Netanyahu? No, I have posted about Gaza occasionally and have quietly given money to Palestine aid organizations. But I think what leftists really want is for me to join their chorus of anger. They sense some hesitation on my part and are judging me very harshly on my presumed opinions. I'd rather be judged on my actual opinions, so here they are. Is Israel committing a genocide in Gaza? Yes. Do I oppose it? Yes. Do I feel angry about it? Yes. I also feel a lot of other things. So on the premise, just like me, we agree on 100% of the things. Hassan has accused her of giving Gaza conditional support. I mean, here she says, in no uncertain terms, is Israel committing a genocide? Yes. Do I oppose it? Yes. Do I feel angry about it? Yes. Okay. So, but here's other things she feels, and this is very much kind of the same that I feel. I mean, she really took the words out of my mouth. 1, doom. The week after October 7th, it was clear that the mood amongst Israeli leaders and civilians was overwhelmingly kill or be killed existential panic and unstoppable lust for revenge. It reminded me of the U.S. after 9/11. There was no reasoning or protesting them out of it, nor was it politically feasible for the U.S. to withdraw aid to Israel on a time frame that would make a difference. It would have required replacing most of Congress and overturning decades of bipartisan strategy and diplomacy. Even in the best case scenario, it would have taken years. So there's a sense of futility, but worse, misery. The leftist pro-Palestine movement quickly decided that their primary goal was not merely opposition to the genocide, but opposition to Zionism in general. That is, opposition to the existence of Israel as a Jewish state. And here they decided to draw the line separating decent people from genocidal fascists, which had the following consequence. Moving to the next page here. 1, it shrunk the coalition. Zionists is a very broad category. Most Jews are Zionists. Anyone who supports a two-state solution is a Zionist. It was politically infeasible. What is the pathway that takes us from the present situation to the dissolution of Israel as a Jewish state? I don't see how this could happen without either a total internal collapse of Israeli society or else, nuclear war. As usual, leftists have championed a doomed cause. This is one of my main points, too. It's like, Israel is not going to just crumble. It's a whole ass state. There's 7 million fucking Jewish people living there who do not have citizenship elsewhere. Their grandparents were born there. It's now been there for nearly 100 years. There's 2-3 generations now that live there. This insinuation that they're gonna just dissolve is it's wishful thinking. It's also just not going to happen, So trying to have a useful conversation that starts with that premise is, again, as Contrapoint says, championing a doomed cause. It's utterly fucking futile. And although it gives them the opportunity to grandstand, to virtue signal online and correct social credits for being, the morally superior of all the people, in the end, it does zero, in fact, probably negative to helping actual Palestinians. Number 3, it introduces dangerous ambiguities. The vagueness of, quote, Zionism as a political Satan enables all kinds of rhetorical abuses. On one hand, right-wing Israelis hold up all anti-Zionist protests as existentially threatening and inherently anti-Semitic. On the other hand, there's a long history of anti-Semitism using the term Zionist in deliberately and equivocal ways, such as Zog, which, by the way, people like, what's the co-host of the Young Turks? Anna Skirtazian, what's her name? she's co-host The Young Turks. She recently went on a debate, I think it was on Piers Morgan, and she literally used the phrase Zionist occupied government to describe the Israeli lobby. Anna Karsparian, which is quite literally the anti-Semitic attack line that was invented by people like David Duke decades ago, and is now becoming in vogue after October 7th by people like Hassan and Anna Karsparian. Anti-Semites are happy for the opportunity to misappropriate the now popular anti-Zionist label to legitimize their agenda, and many people are not informed enough about anti-Semitism to recognize when this happens. These problems are mutually reinforcing. Now, this feels like a really good point, a really good asterisk to add to a movement that has really valuable, valiant, and important and urgent goals, which is the freedom, the emancipation, the welfare of Palestinians, but also to, police your own movement to make sure it isn't one, hijacked by anti-Semites, or two, just completely veered off into misleading or even forcing a lot of the participants into consenting to anti-Semitism, or as Contrapoint says, a lot of the people don't understand the history of the misuse of this label as anti-Zionist to be anti-Semitic under the guise of being, anti-Zionist. And Contrapoints, of course, being someone who is well-versed, educated, very smart, very well-read. She had a great whole section on anti-Semitism in her most recent video about conspiracies. So it's clearly something she's read a lot about and knows a lot about. And I mean, what's wrong with safeguarding an important movement to make sure it doesn't devolve into something terrible and losing sight of its important goal? What is wrong with that? Number 3, Dread. The online left has spent the last 20 months distributing hundreds of photos and videos of dead Palestinian children. The main effect of this has been to create a population of people in constant state of blood-boiling rage with no consequential political outlet. I fear this may be worse than useless. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are conceptually not the same, and conflating them is dangerous. But in practice, the way Israel is perceived does seep out into the attitudes towards Jews in general. I don't think Jews who feel isolated and wary in the current atmosphere are simply hysterical and hallucinating. Uh-oh. That's a huge problem, that statement right there for them. Yes, there's communal trauma and hypervigilance. Yes, there's disingenuous right-wing ghouls dismissing the censorship of all criticism of Israel on the pretext of, quote, fighting anti-Semitism. But there's also a valid fear of historical anti-Semitic patterns reoccurring, and that fear gives power to the right-wing Zionists' claim that only Israel can keep Jews safe. Does this mean Israel should not be criticized and sanctioned? Of course not. But it's something I don't want to risk contributing to if not outweighed by the tangible benefits, so I approach the issue cautiously. Now, her point is not that you shouldn't share all the horrible imagery and videos that are coming out of Gaza, but there is a cynical weaponization of it by certain people on Twitter and social media as a means to just drumming up outrage and hate. And it's being shared, I think, it's being shared in a way that, like, they want you to hate Israel and Zionism, and in a lot of cases Jewish people, as the lines get blurry, and less so like, how do we help Palestine? How do we help Palestinians? What are we going to do to help this situation? It's more just this, they call it, it's a good term, it's like oppression porn, or no, not oppression. There's a name for it. It's like, it's like gore porn. I don't know. It's she is touching on something very, very true, in my opinion, of that. It's hard to explain. She continues, bitterness. Much of the online left spent all of 2024 single-mindedly focused on Palestine and the complicit, you guys know what I'm saying, of democratic politicians in sending aid to Israel. This campaign had the following effects. 1, 0 Palestinian lives were saved. Not one fewer bomb or bullet was fired by the IDF. 2, it may have slightly contributed to the re-election of Trump and Netanyahu for at least 4 years, and making protests against Israel both much riskier and less effective. Trump is also, incidentally, a menace to me and basically everyone I care about. A perfectly enlightened being would feel no bitterness about this, but I do. Now, I mean, listen, I don't know what perfectly enlightened being looks like, but I also feel bitterness about this. The way that they callously disregarded every other important issue. And specifically, let's just look at the trans issue. People like Trump and his administration do not see trans people as human beings, and they're doing everything they can to enact that, both socially and in law. So, you know, it's like this meme of the train track, where it's like you have the Palestinians on one track, and then on the other track you have Palestinians and trans people, and they're like, I'm not gonna save these two. I'm gonna sacrifice this one and let this one die. It's not a good moral question, but it's literally what they're doing, what Hassan has continued to do by not endorsing, not saying he's voting for Kamala, and now to run defense for himself and his movement by saying stuff as idiotic as, Zach, you've got it on the soundboard, him saying, we don't know that Kamala wouldn't have been as bad as Trump, which let's just...
Hypothetical reality where Kamala Harris would not be as bad as Donald Trump, which we have no proof for.
That's just coping. That's just him running defense for his horrible politics. That's all it is. And now we're seeing his horrible politics coming to fruition. And listen, they want to avoid all responsibility. None of this is the fault of the Palestinians, of course, who are overwhelmingly the victims here. I hope that someday American policy will shift in their favor, and I will continue to support that cause. So, too long didn't read. I see the situation as bleak, intractable, extremely divisive, and devoid of any element that could be appropriately transformed into political entertainment. And that's why I haven't made a video about it. Hopefully it goes without saying that these are just my thoughts. I'm sure other bread tubers have different opinions. Now, can anyone tell me what she said that was anti-Palestinian in that? Because my initial response to Hassan, who said she's offering conditional support to Palestinians, was where? Where did she offer conditional support to Palestinians? I mean, the statement begins with unconditional support to Palestinians, but then she goes on to explain that it's important that we self-police ourselves in this movement to make sure we don't devolve into something bad, something self-fulfilling, something that makes things worse, something that makes conservatives more justified thinking that Israel's the only safe place for Jewish people. There's something that gives ammunition to conservative forces in both Israel and America, and also pushing the majority of Jewish people in the world away, further and further away from them. As much as Hassan and the Elk want to deny it, it's true what Contrapoints said, because she's read the literature, she's looked at it. 70% of all Jewish people would be considered Zionists by his definition of it. So I thought it was a great statement. I thought it was perfectly said. I thought it was thoughtful. I thought it was caring. And so you guys can imagine the response on the left by Hassan and everyone else was totally sane and reasonable and awesome. Mike from PA, of course, with the greatest takes. Can we all say thank you to Sean Vids for not being a total piece of garbage like Contrapoints and speaking out on the genocide over a year ago? It's a Sean tube now. Mike, you don't, like, do you see how obvious he wants to feel morally righteous? Because he doesn't have a problem with some of the red flags that we're seeing from the online left right now. He doesn't have to deal with the doubt and the moral complexity of that. So he gets to go and just be like, I'm fucking virtuous and pure. I'm a good guy. Everybody applaud me. Contrapoints, who's dared to think about this thoughtfully, to take her time, she's actually a Nazi. Vadim, God, these people, the usual suspects, are really such a ragtag group of fucking losers. ContraPoints begins her Israel-Palestine post with a dishonest straw man of her critics to legitimize her nearly 2-year cop-out. No one expects her to do a freaking epic 3-hour video. She has so many avenues to speak out in meaningful ways and hasn't. That's on her, not her fans. Now, I'm not super familiar with everything ContraPoints done, but she says here she has occasionally spoke out on Gaza. But why does she need to? Like, she's not pro-genocide. Do you think she's pro-genocide? Like, you know, there's so many other things happening in the world, and as a trans person, I'm sure that a lot of strife that's happening right here in front of her and affecting all the people directly in her life is occupying a lot of space for her. And I don't know what is this weird this weird ass gatekeeping where it's like you need to dedicate your entire persona to Palestine, otherwise you're pro-genocide. It's just like, what are we doing here? And also, okay, Vadim's an idiot, whatever. Here's another one. ContraPoints thinks that Zionists are decent people and that the collapse in apartheid society is undesirable. Again, she didn't say it's undesirable. She says it's not tenable. She says it's not going to happen. And she's right. As much as you guys want to LARP as fucking revolutionaries who are going to go violently kill or like kill 7 million fucking people there who are going to fight to the death to protect Israel as a Jewish state, they're not leaving, bro. So she's right. She wants to make an actually, you know, a thoughtful point and have a reasonable conversation about this, not starting from the point of apartheid society is desirable. Like, we know she doesn't believe that. Why are we even bothering to start a conversation with that? And then he continues that all of our activism has failed to save a single Palestinian life. I mean, what have you, like, let's honestly look at the online left's Palestinian advocacy. Seems like 50% of it is just trying to ruin my life. And I don't really see how that's saving any Gazans. I really don't. I mean, you know, I've donated about $10,000 in charity to directly feeding Gazans and supporting them. I think that helps. I don't see how sending me human skulls helps, you know, personally. Beyond disappointed after years of being a fan, every single Zionist can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a shit about any justification they try to give for their genocidal ideology. No exceptions. It's like, okay, great. So you're racist. You hate the vast majority of Jewish people, and you want to genocide Israel. And that's your statement. That's your position. But like, that's not going to save any Palestinian people. It's not going to save a single one. And her point is like, this actually might harm them because it empowers the more hyper-nationalist, militaristic, violent, genocidal forces in conservative governments in Israel and America. Like, if an Israeli person reads this, they'll be like, okay, so this person wants to kill me, and why should there's no chance for me ever to have a compromise or to have any common ground with this person. So yes, of course, Israel's the only safe place for Jews, because look what's out there. You know? Ooh, and they unsubscribe. Brutal, dude. Is there a genocide? Yes. Will I speak about it? Not until me, ContraPoints, will see any tangible benefits. That's not at all what she said. In fact, the benefit is in being like Mike from PA and just coming out and being like, I am morally pure and I don't see any nuance at all. Please shower me with social credits. You think that ContraPoints didn't know that she was going to get like a heap of shit for standing on her principles? But that's what standing on your principles actually looks like sometimes. Sometimes standing on your principles means that you're going to take a hit. That's what these people don't understand. They think that standing on your principles always means that you win, you get the benefit, and everything is always peachy and you're always on the right side and everybody always loves you. That's not what it looks like, actually. That's what looks like being a hack. That's what being a hack looks like. ContraPoints basically stated, to summarize, all lives matter. Again, super dishonest framing to try to use another movement's ambiguities with the All Lives Matter statement, which was like racist for sure, to try to say, and again, she didn't say anything other than it's unproductive. There is anti-Semitic forces in this movement, and you know, trying, if your goal is to make every Israeli leave Israel, that's not going to happen. So good luck with that. I mean, she's just fucking right. She's so right. It's painful. This one's nuts. Contrapoints, when you ask her about Gaza, like, this is not normal. This has 22.2 million views, 22,000 likes. So this isn't even a niche. This is not normal. Like this, so it shows Contrapoints and then slowly fading into Netanyahu. Does anyone actually believe this? Like, this entire movement is so. It's just so washed when this is the level of discord. It's led only by hate, resentment, purity. These people aren't talking about Palestinian children or Palestinians or any. They're talking about people they hate. All they do is express hate. Likening her to Benjamin Netanyahu is fucking insane.
I was just gonna say, I think it's more impactful when people just like, you know, like I'm a fan of Contrapoints. I've always liked her, and you know, there's a few things that I didn't agree with, but you know, why can't you just say that, you know, I disagree with you saying this rather than you're a piece of human garbage, you're Netanyahu. Like, you know, again, if you really want to do something for the movement and express how you feel rather than just, you know, attacking to show your purity, like with Mike from PA, he's calling her human garbage. I don't know.
That's not helpful, right? I mean, Contrapoints is not pro-genocide. Like, there's no way to spin that.
Yeah.
There's no way to spin that. Like, she's on your side.
Mm. I think the main thing for me was just the point she made about the videos and photos. And, you know, maybe she didn't mean it in this way. Of course, people do use it in ways that cause people to get riled up. But I do think, moreover, the purpose is to spread awareness. And, you know, a lot of people gave their lives for some of that footage. So I do think it is impactful. And again, I don't think she was probably just talking about it in a different way, but yeah.
I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I also know what she means. There are people that share it cynically, I feel like. And obviously,
yeah,
like
most
people are sharing this out of genuine concern, right?
Mm-hmm. And I agree with, you know, also like, again, it is an excuse for a lot of actual like anti-Semitic people to come out of hiding and, you know, be anti-Semitic. I agree with that as well. You know, it's, both are true.
But I totally, I think I agree with you. The way that came off, she could have worded better. It came off as a little callous.